The dreams of seeing Garret Crochet in a Phillies uniform has officially been crushed, as the White Sox starter has been put on a new pair of socks. We represented the Red Sox this season and no longer in the Phillies. But for the price that would have cost, is this the right move for this Phillies team? We're going to break down why it just might have been too steep for this Phillies team overall and dive into it fully exactly here. Do just want to start off with the details. First, we got from Jeff Passan here saying, breaking, the Boston Celtics are finalizing a trade to acquire left-hander Garret Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. Sources tell ESPN the deal is in the medical phase, not official, but trending towards it. And then we did get the official details saying that the Chicago White Sox will be receiving 4 prospects from the Boston Red Sox, all of whom are highly regarded, sources tell ESPN. It's a big return for Chicago, but for a pitcher like Crochet, an ace-level starter with 2 years of chief control, that's the price to pay. So, Luke, to throw it to you right here, you think the White Sox are the winner of this trade, and why?
I do. I think that this was a pretty hefty package for a pitcher that's never pitched a big game in his life. I knew the package was going to be big. It was always going to be big. He was the best pitcher available on the trade market, which just automatically makes the package big in itself. But the White Sox got the number 4, number 5, number 11, and number 14 prospect in the Red Sox organization. The number 4 prospect, he is arguably one of the better ones in baseball. I believe he's the 25th ranked prospect in the entire league.
Wow.
And they're getting a guy in Crochet who is already past 1 arm surgery. And once again, I repeat this, and there's obviously a lot of names out there that we've never seen in the playoffs, and they've gone on to shine. Shohei Ohtani.
Sure.
Obviously, Garrett Crochet is not Shohei Ohtani, but this guy's pitched for the White Sox for his whole career. Like, you just don't know.
One of the worst teams
And
ever.
Correct. Literally one of the worst teams ever. And granted, he was probably the only light in that dark room for 162 games. But it just got really steep. And I think it was bound to get there once again. But I don't know. I was kind of wanting Crochet like before this happened, and in the back of my mind, I was a little iffy about sending all these prospects for a guy that would enter your rotation when our rotation's already really good. And I thought you could use those prospects for a hitter like Kyle Tucker that we already talked about. But this just got a little too steep for me. And it seems that it got a little too steep at the trade deadline for the Phillies too.
Yeah, that certainly seems to be the deal here. And to dive into the specifics of that, first I want to start off with this article here, which states the Phillies don't want to trade their top 2 prospects, shortstop Aiden Miller and right-hander Andrew Painter, not for a player with just 2 years of control like Crochet, and probably not like a player who fits better but has just 1 year of control remaining like Kyle Tucker. The Astros outfielder has drawn significant trade interest this winter for obvious reasons. When healthy, he's one of the top 10 position players in the game. Quote, well, you always weigh those things. I've been there before, done it before, Phillies president of baseball operations Dave Dombrowski said Wednesday afternoon after the Crochet talks. Not sure if it was the right time for us to do that right now, and I think there's a few reasons behind that. One is that the White Sox got a nice group of players, from what I read. We have 4 quality starting pitchers and a young pitcher coming right behind them that we really like a whole bundle. To give up that type of talent, we really wrote out the development of our farm system over the last few years. And we're just getting to the point of having the impact of those guys. It's not quite here, but we're on the verge of having some really good young homegrown players. And to elaborate a little further on this coming from Matt Gelb of The Athletic here, who said that the Phillies were willing to send Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford to the White Sox in exchange for Crochet. Quote, multiple major league sources portrayed the Phillies and the White Sox as near the trade partners in July. At one point, sometime close to the July. Bottom line here is that they were willing to include both Aiden Miller, or take me through this, Luke. Is it Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford? What was the whole deal here?
Yeah, so I can sort of finish this here. The Phillies upped their offer to acquire Crochet by including Aiden Miller
Okay.
along with Justin Crawford and some lower level prospects, according to the sources. Once again, this is from Matt Gelb. Those talks never got to an agreement. The Phillies believed they had satisfied Chicago's uh, stipulation for uh, for 2 high-ranked prospects. Uh, the White Sox, who had insisted on Andrew Painter's inclusion, they pushed back. The Phillies pushed back, not the White Sox.
Right.
The Phillies here basically said we had this package on the table for you, and you now want Andrew Painter. And the Phillies obviously didn't want to do that. And it seems now that I think they made the right move. Obviously, like Gelb said, they never offered Miller and Crawford together. But both of those guys were floated in the trade talks at one point. But once it did get to Andrew Painter, once again, the Phillies kind of shot that down. And I tend to agree. I agree with that. I think once again, like Dombrowski said, I think it's a bit silly to trade all these prospects for a starting pitcher when that's probably the strongest part of your team.
Yeah.
I think if you wanted to go sign a starter, if you had enough money to do that and you felt comfortable doing that, I think that's a lot different of a story. But I think you can take these prospects and you can trade them for hitters. If you want to go get a big time slugger like that's where these prospects should be going into because that's what you need right now. You need bats. You don't need a starter right now.
Yeah.
Like I would love a back end guy until Painter's ready, but you don't need a number two starter right now. You don't need a number three starter right now. So once again, I am a bit happy that they sort of backed out of this thing.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that, and I do agree with the overall premise here that like this is not high list on the priority for this Phillies team. That yes, would be nice to add another arm, but I do think the Painter conversation kind of complicates things with him looking over the shoulder here. Now, as far as Dave Dombrowski goes, I have a fear in my heart, Luke. I think he's getting a little gun shy with the prospects, and why I think that's the case is all that the perception of Dave Dombrowski was to me when he came to Philadelphia was this was Mr. Prospect Shopper. This was a guy that's willing to cash in the chips, get the win now talent, that he will kill your farm system. And it's been the exact opposite since he's got here. I wonder if that kind of reputation sort of got to him a little bit. And I get like the going price is incredibly steep right now. So that's certainly a part of this for just about every player across the board. But it has surprised me how he seemed a little gun shy in these type of opportunities.
Yeah, I think he's being smart, honestly. I think there's been some times where they maybe missed out,
Yeah.
like the trade deadline, more for a hitter, not necessarily for Crochet,
Yeah.
but there wasn't many hitters at the trade deadline that one were what the Phillies needed and two worthy of these top three guys. I don't think you trade prospects just to trade prospects. I think you trade prospects for the right deal, and you especially don't trade your top three guys just to trade them. Andrew Painter's going to be in this rotation for a while. Aiden Miller is the future at third base. These guys don't just get traded for nothing. As we saw today, the Red Sox didn't trade these guys for nothing. They traded it for Garret Crochet, but once again, it was a really steep price. So as of right now, I think I do agree once again. I think that they held these guys back for the right reason, but I don't think they necessarily went in there saying this guy's untouchable, this guy's untouchable, this guy's untouchable. They had a package. Like
Yeah.
they had a package put together. And the White Sox got greedy and they didn't want it. The Phillies didn't want it and they moved on and now the White Sox got a really good package today. So once again, I think the what after that move today, I think the White Sox won that trade today.
The only thing I have a problem with here is it feels like the Phillies are striking the middle ground too much to me. Like you're not winning a World Series in year one of Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller being a part of this team. If the championship window is still open here, you got to capitalize because look at what the rest of the league is doing. Look at how much better other teams have got just making moves and improving their roster. And I get like preserving the future. That's certainly important. There's no doubt about it. But I also am not the biggest prospect guy. That I think it's more of a crapshoot than we're kind of making it out to be for every guy that walks in and is exactly who they were advertised to be. There's 5 others that weren't and did not make the leap in the proper way here. So I hear you on this, but I also just like I'm getting a little antsy with this. Like, why are we keeping all our cards in the deck when
Yeah.
the window to win a World Series is right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my only pushback to that is so far over the last 2 years, there's been maybe 3 players that the Phillies have been linked to where those type of prospects would have had to been in this type of trade.
Okay.
It's probably Crochet. Now it's Tucker.
Yeah.
And at one point it was Luis Robert
Right.
last year who had like a 5 something OPS before like after the deadline.
brutal.
Like once again, I just don't think there's been like if there was a perfect deal, and once again, if you get now to a deal with Tucker and it comes to the point where you have to send out Aiden Miller for Kyle Tucker, it sounds crazy, but you have to think about how much is going to go because there's no guarantee that he's going to come back once he hits free agency.
Sure.
So you could be trading Aiden Miller for Kyle Tucker, and you take that gamble if you want. But if the Phillies don't win a World Series, Kyle Tucker leaves. Now you don't have Kyle Tucker, you don't have Aiden Miller, and you don't have a World Series trophy.
Yeah.
So like I keep stressing this. It just has to be for the right move. If you go in there and you get guys that you know are going to improve your team right then and there, and they're going to be here for a while, and it's an area that you need, I think you fire. But like a deal like Crochet, I just don't. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree on the Crochet side of things. I like him. I do think that's kind of a steep price point for him, and I think like just prioritizing the assets that they have when you do have limited steps to the plate with these prospects is you know this isn't an endless supply of guys you have to deal. I think that should be the higher priority. That absolutely is. But we haven't heard enough of that for my liking, to be perfectly honest. I need to hear more names, more rumors, more connection. That Dave Dombrowski's offering this, connected to this, and it's felt way too quiet on that front. So who knows? Maybe they're the real winner for sitting back and something falls in their lap here. I'm not heartbroken that they did not get Garret Crochet, although, like, if we're talking about moving the needle here, that's something that would have improved this Phillies team, and right now we got nothing.
Yeah, no, definitely would have been a needle mover. But I will stand on the thing that I am happy that they got out of this deal.
Okay. All right. Well, we will leave it at that. We'll see what you guys think in the comments. How disappointed are you on missing out on Garret Crochet, or is it worth it? Should we trust Dave Dombrowski's brain moving forward that he has a plan in place? Ultimately, we will see what is the case for the answer to that question there. But appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in as always. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not already. Dropping a like on this video. And me and Luke will be back with you next time, hopefully with some actual Phillies movement soon. Peace.